to take it. Got it! Boston wins! Two legends in basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast. NBA, some college, a little bit of everything.
You know, what can I say? But it wasn't going to happen here.
Boy, we got a doozy of a show today here. Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Gary Tanguay along for the ride, brought to you by PrizePicks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Gentlemen, we're going to talk about game one of the Celtics. We saw an exciting basketball game. And while emotionally, as both of you know, I can tend to be all over the road, I was up and down. I mean, what a roller coaster in this game. But at the end of the day, Bob, and I'll start with you, the Celtics won a close game. One of our concerns was final 2 minutes. What are they going to do? And they did it. No,
they didn't. They didn't lose as opposed to win. That game was so inconclusive. They lucked out with turnovers. One of them was, both of them in the end were, they're lucky. And they did nothing to discourage Indiana, who came in with confidence and will leave with confidence. And it doesn't solve the question. I'm sorry. It's just as an escape. It's a W, thank God. If they had lost, I would have said, well, it's all right. They can win a road game, which, and they will win a road game. But I don't feel any better than I did 24 hours ago. They didn't win. They just did not lose.
Yeah, everything had to go right for them at the end, and everything had to go wrong for the Pacers, and it did. And it did, ultimately. I mean, you look at those two plays, right, in particular. Number one, and Rick Carlisle took credit. He should have called the timeout to advance the ball. He didn't. But you've got Haliburton who dribbles the ball off his knee, right? And he looked completely rattled. And then I forget who it was who had to dive for the ball, and he obviously was out of bounds trying to keep the ball in play. Yeah, and then the next one, obviously, the inbounds in their own backcourt, and to Siakam, and Jaylen Brown makes a hell of a play, and then hits a prayer. I mean, it was the prayers were answered. And then when you got to overtime, you knew at that point the Celtics had the momentum. They were going to win the game, but they didn't deserve it. I mean, Indiana deserved to win it until they pissed it away at the end and showed their kind of inexperience. And Haliburton, I thought, especially, just made a couple, bonehead plays. And Carlisle made a mistake, and he owned it. He owned it at the end. But, the big question to me comes, Gary, like, if you're Indiana now, on one hand, you look at it and you're like, all right, like, we beat them for all intents and purposes. We beat them at their place. We know we're as good as them now. That's number one. But number two is mentally, can you get over the fact that we just completely pissed this one away?
See, I think you can. I think you go, okay, we did that. That's out of our system. We won't do that again. And now, conversely, I'm looking at the Celtics, and to me, I hope they got that one out of their system game. Yeah, they did win, but they haven't answered the question yet. And I keep coming back to a score that's sitting in my head with 92-79. You know how long it took to erase that 13-point lead? I think I blew my nose and it was over. 14-2 run. I don't feel great. And I'll tell you who I feel good about. I feel good about Jrue Holiday, of course. And by the way, let's get right to it. The pinball, the pincushion guy, Jayson Tatum. Do you know? I didn't know this, so I just learned this about 10 minutes ago. Jayson Tatum, that was his 27th career 30-point playoff game. Since 2019 and 20, guess how many people have had more?
0.
Some guy named Jokic.
Wow.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm tired. So
it's got to the point where we are taking them for granted.
I'm tired of the hate, Bob. I'm tired of the hate on Jayson Tatum. I think for the most part, he plays the right way. Certainly, yes, there are some examples where you'd like him to be a little bit more of a killer, show some more emotion other than the emotion he shows to the officials when he doesn't get calls. But that's not going to change. He's still a top 5 player in the game right now. He's still a top 5 player. And what he's done at 26 years old getting as far as his team has gotten pretty much every year. I know they haven't won the big one, but I think obviously that'll all change if he wins. They win the title
But boy,
this year. But
you know, and I understand what both of you are saying, but to play devil's advocate for a moment, that turnover at the end of the game, boy, that looked ugly. You know, on the pick
yeah,
and roll.
but that wasn't. I mean, they're playing a 2-man game there, and what was it? Was it Holiday who didn't?
I thought it was
spray
Holiday who
out?
didn't roll. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't roll. So I get it. I get it. You got to be more careful in that situation and make sure, he gets out of there. But I don't know. I'm not putting it on Jayson Tatum. Obviously, Jrue Holiday played great. They're without Porzingis. Should they win without Porzingis? Sure. But he changes a lot of things. Jaylen Brown in the fourth quarter was fairly non-existent up until making that great defensive play and then the prayer three-pointer. Like, I still feel like, again, he's got to be more consistent. He was good defensively, but he's got to be a little more consistent. And, Indiana, listen, Indiana's pretty good. I mean, let's face it.
Thank you.
They're better than we thought they were because they got a couple guys up front. And, oh, by the way, Al Horford was completely exposed last night. Completely exposed, right? Like, couldn't make a three, couldn't guard.
It's
they put
over.
him in ball screens over and over and over. And, yes, Al Horford should be, at this stage of his career, a 10, 12, maybe 15-minute-a-game guy. But
If that.
Hurt.
Right,
but Porzingis is hurt. That's what the intent was. The intent for Brad Stevens was, we'll bring him back, and he's going to be a great locker room guy and a great guy coming off the bench. And now he's thrust into a role that, frankly, at his age, he shouldn't be playing.
Bob, I want to jump on. I want to jump on the comment about giving Indiana credit, but I want to dovetail it into this point. I believe in the playoffs, you need to throw regular season rotations out the window. And what I saw as I second-guessed Joe Mazzulla, at the end of the third quarter, you just mentioned the score. The Celtics are up 13. It looks like they're going to put it away. And he puts in the B team like it's a regular season game. And that's when Indiana went on a run and got back into it. Bob, in my opinion, in the Eastern Conference Finals, you're not resting anybody. Okay, there's no load management. If you got a lead by 13 at the end of the third, you're putting a hammer down, and all the starters are staying in until this one is put away.
All right, I think I agree in general terms. There's always a median point somewhere. As I go back to the Denver loss, and Jokic played 47 minutes, and he did run out of gas. But no, I think you're right. I think you have to adjust to that circumstance. That was disturbing to me. That really was. I mean,
not that me. I agree with you, Bob.
13, not that 13 is insurmountable or anything else, but it just disappeared so incredibly quickly, and we've just seen this too often, and that bothered me. I really did. I didn't like that. I mean, anyway, I didn't like that.
But to the Mazzulla, I thought that was a bad. I think you have to adjust in the playoffs, and I think you have to say, look, we got to put the Pacers away here because now they think they can win.
No.
And the other point is, and I heard my former colleagues were talking about the great play that Joe Mazzulla drew up. At the end, I mean, okay, fine, he drew up the play, but it was a prayer of a shot. I mean, let's not.
I gotta say, wait, hold on. It's not like Jaylen Brown is this lights out 3-point shooter that you're like, oh my God, you got Jaylen Brown a clean look from three. Like, he's a average 3-point shooter who made a hell of a shot that, honestly, if you gave him that shot 100 times, maybe he makes it like 3, maybe.
Well, that's the first. That's the first.
I didn't think it was going in.
I love the was it Turner guarding him, and he put his hands down. Siakam put his hands down and make sure he didn't create any illusion of contact. And I'm thinking, fouling him might not be a bad idea. You think he's going to make 3?
They wanted to, Bob. I think they wanted to foul him before he was in the act of shooting. Siakam didn't get over there quick enough. I think that was the plan for Carlisle. If you could foul him, don't let him get a 3. But Siakam didn't get over. It's a hell of a pass by Holiday underneath the basket.
PrizePicks is America's #1 sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Now get in on the playoff action. Win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 in just a few taps. PrizePicks is really simple to play. You can make a pick and submit an entry in less than 60 seconds. This week on PrizePicks, I'm selecting Jayson Tatum to dish out more than 5 assists and for his teammate Jaylen Brown to have more than 22.5 points. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit matchup to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. PrizePicks.
There is no question that Indiana comes away from this not discouraged in the least at
There's
all.
no question.
They're angry with themselves. That's all they are.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
angry with themselves.
disappointed. You got to be disappointed.
Yeah,
but you're
right.
right. Discouraged? No, because you're like, you got some confidence now. Like, okay, like, and again, I thought, and I'm the biggest TJ McConnell fan you're going to find. Okay, the biggest. But when Neesmith fouled out on the block attempt of Tatum, that also crushed them because it McConnell, while he is great at what he is, sometimes it's like playing 4-on-5 out there because they're not guarding him. They're not guarding him from the perimeter.
While Tatum is a terrific player, I want to talk more about Holiday here because Holiday has won a championship. Holiday understands the timing and the importance of a game. Obviously, they don't win the game without him. I mean, we could sit here and, poor Marcus Smart. I heard it on the radio. If Marcus is with the team, they don't win that game. They don't. Because, Holiday's veteran leadership, just his makeup and so forth. And I think it's a great asset to Tatum because, look, Tatum's a great kid. He can score the basketball. But Holiday, Jeff, brings that
Adult.
He brings what Jayson Tatum doesn't have and probably never will. And that's not a negative. It's not a negative. You know what I mean? Like Holiday brings that, we got this. It's good, guys. We got this.
I mean, again, he's done it. So that's the difference.
Yeah.
Like Siakam has done it in Indiana. It's the same thing, right? You've won a title. People kind of look to you. And it's just the way Jrue Holiday and Derek White conduct themselves on and off the court that demands leadership and respect. I don't think either one are super vocal.
That's
not their personalities. They don't have to be, but they just kind of inherently bring this like feel to them of, hey, like you said, Gary, we got this. We got like even keel. The whole team is chill, right? We can admit that, can't we? Like their whole team is pretty chill, whether it's Tatum, Brown, Holiday, Derek White, Porzingis, all of them. But I just feel like Holiday and White bring, again, I've said it all year, they bring 2 adults to the room that in turn have made Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum mature quicker.
I'm not sure that, I'm thinking about Tatum, that the finished product, we don't have a finished product yet. Okay. I'll tell you somebody else that had a gradual evolution into what he eventually became, which was a killer, and that's Pierce. Pierce turned out, he turned out to be a major big shot guy.
But Bob, how much was Paul Pierce impacted? I always say, like, Paul Pierce would have went down as one of the best losers in NBA history if Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen, but Kevin Garnett hadn't arrived in Boston. He was a losing player. That's how he would have been remembered as a losing basketball player if they never traded for a hell of a talent. I don't compare Tatum. I think Tatum, listen, watch Paul Pierce now and the crazy shit he says and does in post-playing career. Jayson Tatum is trustworthy on and off the court. You know what you're getting. He's not going out. He's not going to the clubs and all that stuff. Like, I think they're very different in their personalities. Like Pierce had an arrogance about him. I don't think Tatum, maybe people think he's got an arrogance about him. Spend some time with Jayson Tatum.
Oh, he doesn't have any.
There's none. There's very
no,
little.
and that may work against him a little bit. You know what I mean? Where we all know that Larry and Jordan and those guys would cut your heart out. That's
They're
not Jason.
MFers. Right.
That's not Jason Tatum at all. I mean, you want him as your next door neighbor. I mean, yeah, he's a great
No,
guy.
he'll babysit your kids.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
what
he's
you.
a terrific guy. So
Yes.
that's why, it was good that Holiday. I just thought Holiday, boy, his presence
you're
last
right.
night was huge. Bob,
Yes.
I want to get to the ball movement of the Pacers because if you're a basketball fan, man, for the majority of that game, they put on a clinic with ball movement.
Well, we saw it on Sunday against the Knicks, and I mean, their 2-point shooting. Let's see what we got here. They're 40 for 64, ladies and gentlemen, and not bad. Yeah, it just fascinates me about what they are and what they have been since day one of this season. In that, their coach, I never associated with this kind of offensive, fervor. Rick, I love Rick. I mean, I'm a big Rick guy. I've known him 40 years. Love him. But as a coach, I never thought of him supervising shall we say, a Doug Moe kind of team, but boy, are they an offensive juggernaut. They are, and they do move the ball well, and they do.
Fun to watch.
Talk about Halliburton. Halliburton led the league in assists, right? Assists per game, and yet you still think of him as a scorer. That I still can't think of him in that vein. Yet game's over, and he's got his 25, and he's got his 10, and so it starts there with him and with them, I think. And good for them. There was one other guy. This is off your point for a minute, but I want to get in. I had no idea until this year, or even second half of this year, how good Turner can be. I really did not know that Miles Turner was this good, and he is good, and he's a menace right now for them. And
that's the matchup. And
it's
that's
a bad matchup right now.
Porzingis, right? If the Celtics have Porzingis, but now you're kind of exposed a little bit with a guy like Turner against Horford, and
you're right, and so they got to figure out a way to take advantage of one of their strengths, because this is going to be a difficult task. It's just silence him, with the range he presents, and he's much better than I thought. I have to admit.
So I think, Gary, the other thing that when you asked Bob about Carlisle and this offense, when you look at the personnel of this team, probably 3 of their top 7 players are point guards. Are inherently, that's what they are. They're pass-first guys. Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard has been a true pass-first point guard the entire career, and TJ McConnell is all about just making people better. And they move the ball quickly. They advance the basketball. It's not dribble to shoot.
Right.
It's move the ball. Somebody's open, get him the ball. And even Nesmith has kind of bought into that. Like listen, he's become a pretty good player, right? Like,
he has.
Obviously, the Celtics, hey, they don't feel bad. Like, it was the right move to move off him for what they got in return. But ultimately, Nesmith's found a home there. And like you said, Turner, whoever everybody thought was going to be traded every year by Indiana, and they probably tried. Pritchard probably tried to trade him. He's still a very valuable big because he can stretch it. He's just solid. He's just a solid big who doesn't get enough credit.
No, you mentioned Nembhard. Yeah, he's really he's had an excellent playoff postseason for them. So I just hope people now realize that I don't care that they were the 6th seed or the 106th seed. They're dangerous, and I respected them. And I was not on that bandwagon that they were going to sweep or anything else. And I still think the Celtics are going to win. They're going to find a way to win, but it's not going to be easy. And I think Indiana deserves respect. And if you saw that game on Sunday, I don't know how you could come away with any other conclusion. What they did to the Knicks in that game 7.
Well, that was amazing because I thought the Knicks were going to win it. I was ready for a Celtics-Knicks showdown. I was psyched, New York, Boston, Thibodeau coming back, all that stuff. But they've got some guts. I mean, there's no quit in the Pacers. So very entertaining game. Playoff time. There is nothing like it. I mean, the energy, the effort amps up a good 50 to 75% compared to the regular season. And that's why you want to go to GameTime, the authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA. Now, they make getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. And here's the deal with the GameTime app. The prices of those tickets go down the closer you get to tip-off. They've got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and you can also get the view from your seats with the lowest price guaranteed. GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. So here's what you should do. You download the GameTime app and you browse it, and you can see that you can get Celtics playoff tickets for less than $150. And again, the closer to GameTime you get, the lower the ticket price is. These are terrific deals for big-time postseason games. Last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute sports, concert, comedy, theater tickets. All-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows that the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout and also the lowest price guarantee. Or GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. So, take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets at GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS and get $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Now let's talk about the Celtics offensively. If it's sometimes when you watch them, Bob, if you didn't know about the Celtics and if you took some of their offensive sets, you would go, these guys suck. I mean, like if you took like 5 and you put them out, like pick, because when Indiana is constantly moving the ball, like in the first half, I'm like, dribble, dribble, dribble. They don't move without the ball. It's one-on-one. When they do move without the ball, they're unstoppable. I mean, what's the deal here?
I don't know what the deal is because I said I've been trying to study this team this year, particularly to see if I see evidence of plays as I was raised to believe in the NBA. I don't see much evidence of it, and all right, so they play certain kind of very fundamental basketball, pass and pick away and all that. That's one thing that'd be fine, but I don't. You're right. It's still a preponderance of one-on-one stuff, it obviously their numbers. Well, number one, they want to be in transition. That's fine, and that accounts for a lot of their offense. So we've got two teams that definitely want to get out and run, and that score was reflective of yes, it was an overtime, but that score was pretty reflective of who these two teams really are. 123, 118. I think we're going to see more. We may not need overtimes to get another score or two like that. But anyway, you're right. They seem that they're not as pretty as we want them to be. And
that's exactly right. That you just nailed it. It's true. When we look at the points they put up, Jeff, you could jump in. When we look at the points they put up, and you look at the record, right? Because we've talked about this unbelievable record season, setting scoring. At times they don't look pretty. It's really kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not, especially when they're playing Indiana, right? Especially when you watch how Indiana moves the ball and advances the ball. That's not generally the Celtics. That's not the way they play of like, hey, let's move it without the ball ever touching the floor. It's kind of dribble, dribble, dribble. Even Derek White and Jrue Holiday, who are unselfish, that's really not how they play. And then to me, you've got Jaylen Brown, who I've said over and over, he's a ball stopper. He's not a ball mover. He's a ball stopper. And he'll pass it, but really when there's no other option, right? It's kind of dribble, 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 try to get to the basket, number one. If he can't, okay, then if the three's there, and then if not, and watch. Like my biggest thing, and again, I said a couple of weeks ago, I kind of went the other way, and I was like, he's gotten so much better passing. And if you really watch him closely, don't just watch the passes. Watch where guys get the passes. Because a lot of times they're getting them down low. Like they're not passes where guys don't have any wasted motion to be able to shoot. They're passes where they got to go down and get it and then bring it up. Like he's not a very good passer. At the end of the day, he's just not. He's gotten better, but he's a ball stopper. And when he's your second best player and he touches the ball as much as he does, that's the Indiana Pacers scorers are guys that aren't the number 1 or 2 option. So they're not touching the ball as much. The guys that are touching the ball for them are Halliburton, who's moving it. And then really it's the next 4 guys are kind of about the same, right? Like whether it's Siakam, whether it's Turner, Those guys are more willing to be ball
Right.
movers to me than Jaylen Brown.
I'm going to put that in a T-shirt, Bob. I'm not as pretty as you want me to be. But that's really it. That's it in a nutshell. Okay, before we get to the other series, let's look ahead in this one. Bob, are we going to see? Is this the worst game the Celtics will play?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I like to think that they will finish off better than they did, obviously, and not lose a 13-point lead as quickly as they did. I think the thing I find, all the stuff we can say, we can nitpick them, we can pull them, do this and that, and it's worthy. But one thing about them that bolsters my confidence that they'll find a way to win the series is they are good on the road. They're good on the road, and I don't worry. It doesn't faze me that they have to go on the road at any point in time. That's not the issue. It's where you play. It's how they play. It's not where they play for them. So I'm confident about that. For whatever reason, they're very comfortable on the road. The shooting, they shot 40. Oh, we haven't mentioned one thing in your favor last night that I don't know if that's going to maintain itself. Ultimately, why did they win the game? They won the game at the free throw line.
Right.
Indiana went a long time with only taking 2 free throws, and the Celtics Indiana had, for the record, gentlemen, 6 more field goals, and Celtics had 2 more threes, however, because they were 15 for 45, whereas the Pacers were 13 for 35. But anyway, they won that game by making more free throws, getting and making more free throws. I don't know if that's going to be a pattern or not. I have no idea. If it were to continue, that'd be great, but I can't think we could count on that.
Jeff, what do you think? Is this the worst they will play?
You never know with this team, right? You don't know. I mean, I would think the Pacers.
Make a prediction. Make a prediction.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a 5-game series. That's my guess at the end of the day. That Indiana wins 1. That maybe the Celtics put up a little bit of a stinker. Again, luck. Listen, they know. You saw Jaylen Brown in the post game last night, and he knew they got away with 1. He knew they
called out Al. He not called out Al. He called out Jayson.
Yeah, I saw that. He was like, Jayson woke up or something.
Yeah.
I like that.
I do too.
Listen, that to me shows maybe they do have a better. And again, I never said they had a bad relationship. People kept taking that out of context. What I said is they're not like best buddies.
Right.
But I feel like for him to say that means I think they're more comfortable in their relationship than they've probably ever been to be able to call him out that way publicly.
Yeah, I agreed. I mean, I thought it showed leadership last night. Yep. Okay, let's get to the other game, the other series that nobody saw coming. I mean, nobody. Bob, what are your thoughts on Minnesota and the Dallas Mavericks?
Well, number one, how healthy is Luka Doncic? Apparently, what I read today or earlier today, he moved better this last time out because he was dealing with 2 knee problems, as far as I know. He finds a way to score every night, and we know that. But they're up against this Minnesota team with a 2-headed big guy defensive monster, the best defensive team right now in the league, at least, and a virtuoso named Anthony Edwards. I like them to win the series, and it was interesting to see how they guard Doncic, particularly. And but I got to give Dallas credit for being here because I really hadn't taken them all that seriously.
Hey, you know who we got to give props to? Kyrie. He deserves it. He's guarding. He's guarding. Like, it's actually fun to watch Kyrie on the court and kind of okay to watch him off the court. Like, he hasn't said anything stupid or crazy or outlandish, or I don't think he's been overly condescending to people. And I think they kind of like him. So I'm happy for Kyrie.
Oh, they're happy with him.
Yeah. How can you not be? I mean,
now, I guess go back. Interesting battle here because Dallas does bring to the table a couple of live body bigs. They're not great players. They're not all-stars. They're limited, but Gafford and Lively, I think is going to be an interesting guy to watch as he progresses He's very young, isn't he, Jeff?
Very young. I just
Very
watched
young.
him. Listen, I watched him in AAU ball. I believe it was 3 summers ago. 3 summers ago, I watched him in AAU ball, and I'm like, I love this kid because actually he showed he could actually shoot it a little bit from 3 that summer. Now, that's not his game. That's not what he did at Duke. That's not what he's doing at Dallas. But I could see him being a really, really good player in the league for a long time.
Yeah, so we can see what they bring to the table for Dallas to help offset what Karl Anthony Towns and Gobert are going to bring to the table for Minnesota. The other thing is, how is Dallas going to guard Edwards? Who they're going to who's going to guard him? PJ Washington? I don't know who's going to guard him, but they have to worry about that. And he has become, obviously a terror, quite frankly. So it's interesting.
Hey, you know who's kind of like the Jrue Holiday of Dallas is Mike Conley.
Oh, Mike Conley. Who was it? Oh, Jokic saluted him the other day, paid tribute to him. Said it's the most underrated guy. He admires him greatly. It's an interesting career. Remember, there was a point in time when Mike Conley was the highest paid guy in the league without ever having made an All-Star game. And he finally made an All-Star game. But it's been a understated career of greatness, frankly. And if there is such a thing. But he's there. He's got his hand on the rudder on that team. They're in very good shape with him.
You know who he played AU with, guys, right? Like, who he came up playing in the shadow of, right?
No.
Greg Oden.
Greg Oden.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
A national championship game.
That's right.
Nobody thought he'd be good enough to make the NBA. He was, I think, a lottery pick. He moved up like crazy. And then everybody's like, he'll be okay in the NBA. And like Bob said, he's very understated in what he does. So he doesn't demand a lot of attention. He's like, honestly, the nicest dude. I just saw him a couple of years ago. We were visiting Ohio State, and I've known him since he was a kid. But we were visiting Ohio State. My daughter was considering going to Ohio State. So this was, 3 years ago? And he was at a barbecue. And you'd never even know he was Mike Conley. Like, he's just like, he's the ultimate regular dude.
Well, good for him. Good for him. So is the pressure on, Bob, the Celtics now because the narrative when Denver was eliminated was if the Celtics don't win, it's a failure.
Oh, there's no question. Look, the other 3 are all playing with house money. The Celtics are the only team with this kind of pressure. There may be, inherent, obviously pressure exists, but in Minnesota, they're happy to be there. The fans are happy to be this far.
In Minnesota, Bob, in Minnesota, they think they're going to have other chances with that.
Oh, yeah.
I think like Indiana, you're like this is probably this might be it. You never know with Indiana. In Dallas, you're totally like, how many more years you're going to get with Kyrie and Luka? So they're different, but you're right. They're all
the dynamic. None of them have the dynamic the Celtics have with the history, the way this has unfolded the last several years, and the things that have happened to them, and now here they are, and all the reasons that we talk about them, and so no, there's no question. I'm sorry, but I'm sticking with it. It's basically house money for the other 3, but not for the Celtics.
Yeah. Celtics are still. I mean, it was like when Denver was out, everybody's like, "Okay, here we go, get out the duck boats."
No,
not for me, baby. And I'm not honestly, and I'm assuming it'll be Minnesota, and I would don't wipe that smile off your face, folks. If it's Minnesota, I'm telling you. So, I'd be shocked to lose to Dallas, but I wouldn't be shocked to lose to Minnesota.
Hey, would you guys play if Porzingis is 95%? Would you throw him in there in Game 4 like the plan might be at this point?
Just I mean, I would. I mean, I heard it. Yes. I heard it too, Jeff. I heard Game 4. So yeah, I would.
Yes.
Like 10 minutes.
We unanimous
10
on
minutes
that.
in Game 4, right?
Yeah.
Unanimous.
Get him going. Yeah. Get him going. Gentlemen, always a pleasure. Jeff Goodman, Bob Ryan, the Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Tanguay along for the ride, Zoom and Pod, brought to you by PrizePicks. Exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Until next time.